we are live once again. We do this basically every single day, or at least I'm trying to do this every single day. And as usual, let's start out with Bitcoin. Also, I did put my account at the top of my video right here for the people who think that everything I do is fake. This way you can see my account updating real time. So as you can see, every couple of seconds it will change based on the movements of Bitcoin. So I thought that was a pretty cool idea. Also for new viewers to come and get some, some trust. Anyways, let's move on to Bitcoin. So here is what we have. So as you guys know, I have been calling for this 96 to 98 target for so long now. If you go on YouTube, in my old videos, in my old lives, I've always been speaking about this 96 to 98. So what happened here? Yesterday, I did take a loss on a short trade, very small loss right here, because initially we had this nice reaction on the 4 hours. I think even on the 30 minutes, it looks good. Yeah, it looked good on the 30 minutes. And so I did after, I believe it was after a change in market structure, I think around here, yeah, around 95, I took a short trade, which initially was, it was in a little bit of profit, but nothing special. But then I did proceed to close this short trade once we opened at market. So I closed it right here at a loss. And then all this upside, I didn't take any shorts. I did say that it was more likely that we would push towards 98, which is exactly what we did. We reached 97.9. And actually this morning I woke up, I saw the reaction that we had at 97.8, and I liked how we started rejecting. This was also the high of the range that I had been speaking about. We had taken out all these highs right here, which is basically what I wanted to see. So if we consider, let's say, this as a speculative range, we basically took the liquidity that we had all above and we closed the candles below. And that for me was another entry trigger for a short trade, which initially I did not take, which was a good thing because we did have another move up here. Of course, you could have traded the SFP of this high after taking the liquidity here. That would have been a nicer trigger, but this happened. I don't remember when this happened. But anyways, I wanted to be a little bit more cautious and wait for that 30-minute market structure shift, which we had right here. As you can see, this was the high, the higher high, the low, the higher low. And then here we broke this higher low. And then I was looking for these retests right here, where I did add a little bit of size. So my average entry is like 96.6, something here, somewhere here. And I did say, however, that if we are to flip this, then I would expect for that move up towards 100,000. Of course, we do have to consider a possible move above this high and then the drop down. But yeah, that was pretty much it. The thing is here, once again, as I've already explained in the Discord, I do expect for Bitcoin to have that push higher. I do think the highest probability is for that push higher. However, I've been waiting for this area for 2 months now, that I would just feel stupid not to try and take my short trades up here. So I took a very small loss here of about $300. I set my risk here to lose, I think, 500. You can see my trade right now. I'm at a $200 loss. If I do take the stop loss, which I probably won't even take because based on how we open 700, I will close this early. For example, if now we open and we don't just SFP this high, I'll probably just close this short trade. But I would feel really stupid to close this here now, especially after we had that shift in market structure right there. And we're just simply retesting this area. I would just feel stupid closing this if then we drop. So I would rather have risk on. Also keep in mind we're retesting this point of control. I would rather keep my risk on and risk those $700 to potentially catch that short. And yeah, I mean, it's part of trading. It's part of the risk. You take these risks to potentially then have some of the good trades that we can get into. For example, when we were trading at 126, which is where I shorted before this massive drop to 80,000, this was very similar situation. Like everybody was feeling bullish, expecting new highs, etc., etc. I took the risk. I risked, I don't know, $500, and I ended up making like $7,000 off of that trade. So it's in these situations where you want to be taking your risks. Because if we do drop to 80,000, then I'm gonna be really pissed. So anyways, as I said, it will take a couple of tries to actually catch that short trade and before it actually works out. But yeah, that's trading. Might get stopped out, might see that fake out of the high. So also another option, if you want to be more, give yourself more space, it is to put, for example, your stop loss here. I don't plan on doing that, to be honest. I'd rather keep my stop loss here and then in case take another trade, because if Bitcoin starts squeezing typically, I feel like it's just gonna go like that and there's no point losing more money than we need to. So yeah, that's it for Bitcoin. I do think the smart thing here would be to look, for example, if we have, also here's the other thing. A good plan would be to have, for example, a short trade in case we drop from here to try and catch that long trade for further upside. For example, I think we have a naked point of control. Let me see the levels. We have a daily naked point of control at around 94.9. Okay, so let's put this here, 94.9, which would be here. Which lines up pretty well with this anchor VWAP from here. It lines up pretty well, I think, also with this, or is it this? Nope. Before we got impulsive right here on that SFP that we had at 90,000. So this, for an intraday long, is a good area. And if we also take these lows, for example, if we drop to this area, I do want to be protected. So this way, for example, I have my short trade from here, which obviously the target is going to be much lower if we're looking for that reversal. But at the same time, if we drop down from here into this support, then having this short, I will feel much more confident taking this long. Because if this fails, for example, my short will keep on making money. And also, same thing, if this instead holds, I will be in a long from the bottom, in a short from the top, and I can let either of these two trades run. So let's say, for example, we start ranging here. Once the range breaks, either hard to the downside, because I do think that if we don't hold here, we're going to see a much lower move, then this short is going to make a nice amount of money. If instead we bounce hard from here, I do think next target is going to be around 100 to 102. And so in that case, I get stopped out for this little area. That's where I make no money right here. But then from here to, for example, here, that's where I make the money. And so I think this is a good situation to be in. Also, we do have market open in about 5 minutes. So let's see the type of reaction that we have here. Honestly, this would be my preferred scenario. I don't think this is going to happen though, because if you go on order flow, you can see quite a lot of shorts opening, which, as I was explaining yesterday, I mean, even here, you see all these shorts opening here. You have shorts opening here. So all around here, there's just massive shorts opening at times. Here, here, here and here. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like chances are that we push higher, but I do want to be protected. So let's see. Would be nice to, for example, take these lows and then reverse, kind of like we saw yesterday. Or for example, let's see if we have another thing. Yeah, honestly, I really like this area for a long. I think this would hold. The thing is, are we gonna get there before we take the highs, or are we first gonna take the highs and get stopped out of the short? That's the only question right now. However, once again, here we're still at resistance. We can break through this value area high. If during market open, we start staying above this and reclaim that, I'll close the short. But until this is not reclaimed, for example, also we might have that fake out and then down, I don't think there's a reason to close the short trade. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I do really like this area for a long. That's the thing. And again, I would say this is the place to be taking the long, because after that, I would say there's a much bigger drop towards probably 90,000, I would say, back in this range. We can see also some new levels here. This monthly is gonna get closed in about 16 days, so there's no point marking it yet. This is tapped. See the weekly. Weekly, once again, at 87. Yeah, this was the level that I was looking at. This also can't count it for now. Anyways, let's re-add this weekly that I had. Weekly. I think there was a naked point of control down there as well. Let's check. 92. There it is, right here. 87. There's two. I'm not going to take this one. I think this one is now valid. 87.5. So right here, 87.5. So obviously this is the other area of interest that I have, that I've been giving for quite a bit. Then let's go back to the daily perspective. Do we have anything lining up here? No. Also Fibonacci level wise, we might have that 0.382, which is nice for continuation. And yeah, that's also lining up with that. So I do really like this area. We can also look at, I'm guessing we're gonna have the value area high from this. Now that comes a little bit more down. Could we see a drop to here? Absolutely. We do have some demand and supply flip right here. But if we lose the main point of control and the anchor view up, I don't know about that. Daily, there's nothing. All right, let's go back to our 4 hours. So yeah, pretty much I really just like this for an intraday. Would be really nice, I don't think it's possible, but if this were to happen where we have a nice drop of 2%, I mean, it's possible, it's Bitcoin. If we open very bearish, which seems unlikely considering the stock market seems pretty strong. Yeah, I don't think it's possible. Sorry, it is possible, of course. I don't think it's likely, but that would be nice. Another option would be, for example, to open very bullishly and market open, faking out the highs, and then taking this back down here, and that same type of position we can be in. So I would say if you're not in a trade right now, I wouldn't take this trade. There's no point opening it now. I would say either wait for the fake out here or for this bigger fake out right here. Yeah, I would say this is the plan for today. I really do feel like this is the type of level to hold very well for that bigger push to 100,000. And I will be taking these trades pretty heavily, I think. So once again, one last time, fake out of the highs, you then have the short trade like this, or drop into 94.9. Of course, once we get to this drop, I would hope that we already have a short trade. So for example, for me, if we drop from here, I already have that short trade. If first we take the highs, I also have another short trade. If price gets to 95,000, for this downfall of 2%, you want to be protected, in my opinion. Because again, this is not a sure thing. If we do this, chances are we go to 90,000, and then what? You missed that nice drop, which initially just seemed like a 2%, but it can turn into a 10%. And trust me, you don't want to miss a 10% drop on Bitcoin, because also once you get here, there's also a chance that we keep on dropping at 87,000, perhaps 87,000, we have a reaction, but we might just keep on falling. And before you know it, we might be at 69,000 or 60,000. So yeah. Can I give an eye at ADA? Yeah, we haven't seen ADA in a while. Let me just wait for market open. Oh, we did open. Very boring market open. I didn't even notice that we opened, to be honest. Let's see. So as usual, guys, if you've watched the lives, you know that a market open, we typically go and get liquidity to the downside if we're bullish, and then we tend to reverse. So now, of course, this trade is back in profit, nothing much, 13 bucks. But let's see, because if we can get that just continuous drop, that would be nice. But I feel like, where are the lows here? If this starts having strength, that's when we can see that reversal. Let's see order flow as well. What's going on? Yeah, I mean, look at this. Shorts, strength. I think this is exactly going to be like yesterday. These are just longs closing from these lows. Let's see. As I said, I'm leaning more bullish. Also, Ethereum was really nice. We almost reached that target that I had given yesterday of, let's pull out Ethereum. 1 second, because my watch list is not loading. Let's refresh. Okay, for some reason the watch list is not working anymore, so we're gonna have to look at Ethereum from here. Ethereum. So Ethereum, as I said, I am still waiting for 2 levels. One is the move above these highs for something like this, which we got pretty close to. I did say that this value area high right here was the place to be flipped, and as you can see, this was really nice actually. Touch once on the support, nice bounce, and then here that would have been your long trade off of this SFP, reclaim of the value area high here. That would have given you a really nice trade with a very obvious invalidation to get that target to 3.4, above 3.4. So yeah, anyways, for now I'm not moving anything on Ethereum. I have a lot in spot, and yeah, I'm gonna wait for either 3.4 or 3.7. At 3.4, I'm not gonna sell any spot unless we get a bearish reaction such as this, and then I'll also take the short. And then at 3.7, that's where I'm gonna be interested in loading off my spot. What I might do also here to reduce my risk is put the stop loss here. But first I'm gonna wait for the reaction. Okay, so now let's take a look at ADA. Okay, yeah, I would open the long, not at 95. Oh, sorry, yeah, 95, exactly. That's what I was covering before. If we drop to this level, which again, I don't think it's likely that we drop there now. I'm also gonna keep an eye on this area here. But yeah, definitely if we start breaking this low, then I would say, yeah, it is likely that we're going for it now. If we hold this, then I would say it's more likely that we can see later on that push up. So that's the only thing. Anyways, Bitcoin is not doing much. I'm gonna set an alert if it gets above here. And I'm gonna set an alert for this low and for this, so that we know how to move. But as I said, it would be really nice to just see this fall first to 95, because then I can take a take profit one on my short, I can get into this long, and then I can be in the most comfortable position that we can be in. So we were saying ADA. By the way, if you want to look at any tokens, just drop it in the chat and I will take a look. So we have ADA here, which is Cardano, by the way, for whoever doesn't know about it. Let's see if we can find a nice trade. This was a nice trade, I think. I bet there's also an anchor view up. No, that's not lining up perfectly. Maybe this one. Yeah, this would have been a nice little scalp short from retesting the value area high that you lost. That would have been really nice right here. If I saw this, I would have taken this, to be honest. Maybe there was even some horizontals lining up. No, no horizontals. There's that weekly. Okay. Anyways, that was the missed trade. Let's look for a potential new trade. So typically when you break out of this, so as you can see, look at this, you broke out here, you retested, you rebounced, bounce. Once you lost it, you moved back down to that 0.38. Here you kind of had a massive fake out as well. So you were able to initially get out of this value area high, test it. Now you lost it, you back tested it. Chances are now you're going to move back down to that 0.39 to 0.38, just like you did right here. So we might want to find perhaps a short trade more locally, perhaps a scalp, something more local. I don't typically do this, but I do feel like it's a good opportunity. Perhaps if we move back up here, because we did have that market structure shift. So let's say if this can bounce there, for example, now, then we can look for that retest around this area of 40, and we can try to look for a short trade that looks like this for a nice 1 to 5. This I would really like as a short, and I'm gonna set an alert, and I will take this if I get the opportunity. Obviously, if we come up very fast and simply just do that, I'm not gonna take this short trade. I'm gonna wait for the fake out of this high. But I think this can be very interesting, and I do think we can get the nice bounce here. Also to respect this trend line, look at something like this, get more longs, and then have that flush down towards this 39. This looks like a nice trade for me. So if we get that opportunity, I will take it. Now I am making $200 on this Bitcoin short. And as you can see, the right choice was to not close it early. As you can see, I did add here. This is my short yesterday that got stopped out. And this is where I started re-adding onto the short. Let's see, as I said, that place right there, 95, now seems more likely. That's a big drop. We do gotta be careful of these lows here. And the bounce on this area. Let me clean this chart up for you because I know it can be looking quite messy. But again, there was no point closing my short here because we were clearly at resistance. So there was no point to get scared. Even though you're not like 100% sure and it's looking bullish, no point taking off the risk. We are at the value area high. We just tapped into the Fibonacci retest after breaking structure. So yeah, I now feel like this is more doable. Also, another thing that we can add is the 1-to-1 here on this retracement, which I think will also add some nice confluence. It's gonna line up perfectly. Okay, this gives me even more confidence for this level at 95. I do feel like, okay, I would say if this gets broken, I'm not gonna say it's 100% sure, but I feel like 90% chance we do reach this level. And so I'm not gonna take profit here unless we really see that nice reversal now. But it's looking, let's also look at order flow. Yeah, this is just longs getting liquidated. So we could see a further continuation with these longs getting liquidated to then scare them out of the position and then have the actual long, which won't be crowded, hopefully. Okay, here's, by the way, ADA, which is reaching that target. I really don't know why my watch list is not loading. It's really annoying. So I do gotta switch between this. Actually, I should be able to. Oh, just bear with me. BTC USD. USD.P. yeah, so this is looking like we're gonna go to that target that I gave. And so I would say this is not the likely scenario anymore. This is also not looking likely. I will put an alert in case we get back above here. We do also have to be careful of this low, because we could just simply SFP this. But as I said, this 1-to-1 is looking really juicy. And if we can just simply, instead of doing this, we can keep dropping here, get all the longs here liquidated, and then people are not going to expect that reversal here. That would be nice. I do think at that point we are going to go take these lows. So you do have to wait a little bit and be patient. Don't just blindly buy the levels. Wait for that reaction at the level. We might hold this like this, but we just have to wait and see. And now this trade is making $300, by the way. And also I'm still short on this Pippin, by the way. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's see. That would be nice. But again, be careful of the reaction that we get here. I do think it's more likely that we go down because here there was such a fast rise that there is no support. So this is looking quite weak. And if we break the low below this, I feel like that would be quite a fast flush. And it would also be nice to put in that low at market open. So it's only been 15 minutes since market open. And as you guys know, if you've been watching the lives many times, we do put in the low during the first 2 hours of New York Open. So in the next 30 to 1 hour and a half, we might see that low being printed right here. And then we can see that nice reversal. I hope that is clear. Yeah, so 0.382 is for continuation. What about SFP of the smaller range on BTC? You have golden pocket also. I think you're talking about this, right? So that's the level that I was mentioning just now. And yeah, you would have that golden pocket as well. The only thing is that this is already tapped. Could we see that SFP on a lower tap at around 95.4 and then reclaim here? Absolutely, yeah. That would be a fake out, failed auction, I would say. That's also an option, and that's why we're still going to look at that reaction there. So absolutely, yes, you are correct. Nice spot on that 0.618. And as you can see here, we just keep on dropping. We are about to take that low. I think it is important to be monitoring the order flow here. This is now $400 in profit. This account, I took 2 losses yesterday, I think. And I just built it back up to 11,700. So I do think we're going to take these lows very soon. Would be really stupid if we don't. Bitcoin does this sometimes, where it ever so slightly doesn't take the lows, which is the most annoying thing that it can do. But at this point, what is that? Like 0.1%, I think. 0.02%, 0.03. So let's see. This is looking really good, I think. We might have a really nice trade lining up. And by the way, the thing is, as you can see now, I'm making $400. Here's the lows being taken. Now I'm going to have so much confidence to actually long that level, which for the people that missed a short trade, they're not going to have the confidence for that. They're not going to want to, by the way, how much did my wallet drop? 464. I don't know how much it was at before. They're not going to have that confidence that I will have to actually long this because they have nothing to protect them. If price keeps on falling, they're going to take a loss. If price keeps on falling here, sure, I'll take a loss, but I'm also going to keep making money off of this 0.5 Bitcoin position that I have, which is worth $50,000. So I have, basically, I can hedge 1-to-1. I can open $50,000 long here to look for that reversal and then be in the best position that you can be in at this moment. So yeah, I would say now it is likely that we go for that 94.9. This low has clearly been lost unless, once again, we tap here and reclaim. I think this is very likely that 1-to-1 is perfectly lining up with the point of control, with the value area low, with the naked point of control. So why would we not look at that? It dropped by 2K by the start of the live. Yeah, I'm used to that. It's pretty normal. Anyways, that's more of a spot wallet, so it's not the trading wallet. That wallet will lose between $10,000 a day to making 20, 30,000. I do sometimes take trades there, but I've been mainly trading on other platforms. So let's see how much this long is making now. We're now making $500. And by the way, at this point, I would say I can put my stop loss up here. I only risk 300, so that's already technically a 1-to-1, actually more than a 1-to-1. Let's also go back and monitor the order flow. These are all just longs getting liquidated, which is very normal because the people that were long from this low, from that 618 bounce, right, that we first had right here, those are all people that went long, saw a nice reaction. What did they do? They put their stop loss below this low and they took their long. Now the people who didn't take profit here because they were expecting for that new high, and because most people don't know how to trade, and they did not think of taking that retest short right here after the change in market structure, now all these people are getting liquidated. You can imagine that people had their stop loss all the way up to here or up to here, whatever. Some people probably have it here. And so you can clearly see that with the open interest going down and all these delta candles being red, that's simply longs closing their position with a short trade order. Now, here, this is an important reaction that we have to check, because if this 30-minute candle closes above onto this retest, then this is looking good. So for example, here, I don't really like this reaction so far, but I am going to give it some time. But as I said, the possibility, as I just covered here, is that we can have something like that. I was saying, look at the low. We might go below it. If we reclaim it, you can clearly see this more in the 2 minutes, then we could expect that full reversal. Of course, we can look at some resistance. Once we get that sign of strength, that's when we can start closing, for example, the short trade. So far, this is okay. This can be like early people taking a long or whatever. It always happens that you might get that push at first, just to then continue lower and stop out all the new longs, which would really help getting to this level. So let's see. This is just a game of being patient at this point. But yeah, this would also be a really good low at market open. So that's one thing we got to consider. But let's just be patient and wait. I would say also this would be smart for the market makers to get people bullish right here and then liquidate them. And then by the time that we get here, people are going to start getting bearish. And then you have the perfect scenario to actually get that bounce. Because you remember, you don't want to have too many people being long to have the price pump. You want basically most people in shorts, which would be nice. Let's say you start losing this anchor VWAP. Most people are going to be like, oh my God, now we're totally going to like reverse, start getting those reclaims. Most people, let's say 90% of the market is going to be placed to the downside, expecting this. That's where you want to be in the 10%, or actually not even 10%, probably 95% compared to 5%, where you actually want to be on the opposite side of the market. What do you mean it's frozen on TradingView? I'm looking at the stream on this phone and it looks like it's working. So I think that's I think it's only frozen for you. Maybe the other viewers can let me know in the chat, but to me it's working, unless it just stopped now. No, it seems like it's working. Anyways, so yeah, that's it. Remember, if you want to look at more stuff, we can. This is so annoying. What is wrong with my watch list? Let me try to reload my screen. No, nothing. All the watch lists decided to crash today. So let's look at Solana as well, because we have been speaking about this for a bit. So Solana, we had that move up to get all that liquidity. We are now retesting that anchor VWAP. So this was the liquidity we were speaking about. This anchor VWAP now could be a place, if it lines up, for example, with Bitcoin, to take that long trade. We did move below these lows, which is already nice. I would say we could attempt a long trade if we get back above 145. If you want to be a little bit more cautious, wait for a market structure shift. You did get the SFP here. However, we very well know that we could have another move down before that reversal. So if you want to be a little bit more cautious, wait for some sort of change in market structure, wait for the reclaim of this point of control. Then you will have a much more safe trade to take this back to the highs first for 122.5, and then potentially to that target of 170 or whatever that I had been speaking about. So this can turn into a nice swing trade. Of course, I would give myself a little bit more space, but we flipped two very important levels here, which if they can hold, this can run. So I would say look for a long on Solana, but I would first wait for either the reversal here, which once again starting to look more likely. And yeah, so if that lines up with Bitcoin, it would look pretty good. Let's see what we have going on here. I do want to manage that trade. Thing is, we have 5 minutes for this 30-minute candle. This might look like a nice reversal. Again, this is typically what we see during market open. I should have probably taken some profit here. That would have been smart, because right now this looks good. Looks really good, actually. If we take it from this low, we actually tapped that 0.72 perfectly. Let me get rid of this and get rid of this. So as you can see, we actually tapped this to the dollar if we consider this low here. If we consider this one here, no, but we still tap the 6.6. So as I said, this kind of looks good. And I might have to close part of this soon if we don't get that reversal, because this looks pretty bullish now. I'm gonna give this some more space, and then I might have to take half the size off. Let's see. And again, I don't care about taking that $400 profit. This for me is a hedge. It's protecting my positions. So it's not like I'm, oh my God, no, I missed out on that 400 that I had down here. If you're not hedging and that was your only short trade, then yeah, it would have been smart to take some profit down here. Said my G, you made us print as always. You are welcome. Can you take a look at XAU? Yeah, let's take a look at gold, because gold is just so fucking bullish all the time. Anyways, we're now back at this point of control. Let's see the reaction here. We do still have 4 minutes to drop here. Otherwise, we do have a confirmed SFP, which doesn't have to mean reversal. It's just, it increases the probability that we put in that low. This will also look good on the CME. That's the other thing. On TPO. This definitely looks good. I mean, there's nothing to say. I wish I could see my fucking CME TPO chart if it would load up. Ah, perfect. I just gotta switch this to CME. So let's see. This can also help us. I mean, see, this just looks good for further downside. That's why I don't want to close this too early, because I do feel like this is going to be a nice level. I mean, obviously this is different on what we were seeing before. You have the single prints here. As you can see, we're at about 96.1 here. We're at 95.7, which means that by the time we get to 95, this will be like 94.8. So it kind of lines up with the other confluence that we have, probably a little bit lower than that 94.8. But I mean, that's not the only thing that we want to be looking at. So let me open this like this. This way I can see both. I mean, you can expect a further move down to 94.6, for example. And that would line up really nicely with this as well, where we have this naked point of control on the TPO from, this was yesterday, 2 days ago. If not, we also have this point of control here, which is still not tapped. So I do think that we're going to move lower. I think that was just an initial bounce to get some people bullish and then actually take this more down, just like I was saying. Maybe we managed to close the gap at 88,002. For now, I'm not going to look that deep. We do have a mini gap right here at 94.7, which also lines up with what we've been looking at. And as you can see now, we're starting that reversal at this point of control. So we do kind of have that gap. Let me get rid of this. This gap is filled. I don't think we have, let's see. Fill. Yeah, we have this one. That would fit with my other lower target. But for now, I wouldn't look at this. Daily, still at 94.7. So yeah, I would say this is just, this would make sense. We have some volume nodes up here. Yeah, with the TPO, I like this. Just a little bit more down. So that fits with our bias. Gap is from 94.7 to 94.4. Yeah. Let's see. I mean, I would consider this. I wouldn't consider this as the gap. I would now consider more like this, right? Because this price action has been already visited. Technically on the 4 hours, it doesn't even have that gap. Let me see the other one. It's a very small gap, but yeah, why not? Now we're getting some more strength. Anyways, yeah, so that's pretty much it on Bitcoin. Just game of patience as usual. I feel like this would be too obvious. This would really just have too many people being long. Like, does it play out sometimes? Yes. Sometimes Bitcoin just does what is more obvious for some reason. But it just seems too easy. It's like long here and make money. Maybe. I just feel like this scenario is just the best. So let me clean this up so you guys can see it properly. There we go. So yeah, I'm gonna do it like this. Scalp long. I'm gonna put it lower because I do think chances are we can visit a bit lower first and then have the reversal. Am I from Chart Champions? No, I'm from my own Discord, which is called Fed Trades. You can find it in the description. So that's pretty much it. By the way, if you guys are using TradingView, why did my camera move so down? What the fuck? No, I did not long here. I'm in the short. Am I tripping on YouTube? Hold on. Okay, now it got fixed. Can you check Clanker? Yeah, let's check Clanker, and then if there's no more requests, I will close this early because, again, there's not much we need to do here. We just need to wait for either of the moves. So again, I'm gonna start closing the short if we start getting above here and here. So right here. So guys, I'm gonna close this light because it's bothering my eyes. Yeah, I'm gonna start closing the short around this area if we get those reclaims, because I do feel like at that point this is likely to be the low for that continuation up. But optimally, I would like to see this lower. And then it's just a game of patience. You either wait for this level to be hit or you wait for that reclaim and that push up. So let's go see. Okay, yeah, everybody's watch list doesn't work. There is 100% the SFP. This is totally valid, by the way. In BTC we trust is right. By the way, he's one of my one-to-one mentorship students. So clearly he studied the content and understood that this is in fact an SFP. This is totally valid. Now, why am I not taking it personally? I could have. I mean, I totally could have. It's just being already in the short trade and having more conviction in this lower target. I just don't want to expose myself in a long too early. I feel like the highest probability is still to go down to this target and then see that reversal. So here, for example, if we SFP this low right here, right? If we SFP that, I'll be more interested in that, and I will take the long here with the right reaction. However, here, I rather just sit out and not be in a long, because I do think there's just a much better opportunity here. And if we reverse here, that's not an issue. Again, as you can see up here, I don't know, somewhere here, I have my wallet, which is exposed to the long side. So it's kind of like I'm in a long at all times. So I don't need to look for these aggressive longs. Would I have taken a scalp here? Yes, but the scalp would have been as soon as we reclaim this low. So if you were on the 1 minute right here, you saw them move down. As soon as we moved back up here, this would have been your trigger. You would have had a scalp trade, for example, here. Here you're gonna have some type of reversal entry. I will explain this in my one-to-one eventually. Here you would have had, for example, that target to the anchor VWAP, and you would have had your stop loss here. You could have gotten like a 1-2 almost. Or if you wanted to be more aggressive, you could have literally taken it as soon as you traded back above here and would have given you a 1-2. Of course, you can possibly look for that full reversal, which then would have technically transformed into more of a swing trade. So yeah, that's it. Now to take it here, it is absolutely valid because you do have that 30-minute candle close above the low. So yeah, you could, for example, have a trade like this, but I feel like at this point, your risk to reward is not as good anymore. You would have to look for that full reversal to get that 1-3, which again is totally possible. It is possible that we put in the low here, and it is possible for this trade to play out like this. But it's just, I much rather miss this trade right here and go for this one. So I hope that's clear. But again, you're your own person. If you feel like this is a good opportunity, if this fits your bias of taking a long trade, don't listen to me. It's better that you have your own plan and you follow your own plan. I don't want to be the noise that tells you don't take that trade. Just for me, it doesn't make sense because we have that resistance up here, which for now is holding. So yeah, I mean, again, it's a game of probability. For now, the SFP tells you that, yeah, you might have that reversal, but having seen this many times, for me, with my experience, is just not a type of trade that I want to be taking right now, and I rather just miss it in case. Because also, once again, keep in mind, I got all my spot positions up here, which if we push from here, I don't need to be looking for that trade with so much, what's it called, urgency. Like, I don't need to be in long trades. I have over 300,000 exposed to the long side. So if we see that reversal, I'm still gonna make money. So yeah, just gonna stay in this for now. All right, so let's go see that token called Clark or something. I'm gonna put an alert here, and then we'll switch back to Bitcoin once we get to either side. Also here, for example, would that make more sense if you missed that long entry and you wanted to get exposed to the long side? It would make sense now after the SFP to try and trade that reaction. Would I blindly buy it? No. If we get something like this where we retest, for example, 0.72, we hold and we get above this value area low, then yeah, I would say now you have even a bit more of probability that this can work out. But to take it aggressively now, I wouldn't. But this is totally valid. I just want to be clear, I'm not taking it. For example, we have Breen CL in the chat, which is also one of my one-to-one students, who is taking this trade. He has his own plan, he has his own conviction, he thinks we will hold. Very good of him to just not listen to me and take the trade, because once again, I don't know what is going to happen. This can easily reverse here. So if that was your plan, and if you think this fits your criteria, absolutely take the long trade. It is totally not wrong. If we reverse here, I totally understand why. So the token we wanted to look at is Clanker. Clanker. USDT.p. By the way, if you have any more tokens, drop them in the chat and we'll look at them. Oh, sorry. We never finished to analyze ADA. Oh no, we did. We had this short trade planned. So as you can see, a little bit more down than I expected, which is actually better if we get that push here, because this will line up even better with that retest of the value area high and with potentially this trade that we want to take. So that was more of a scalp to take it down to this target here. And then, ooh, see, now we had that nice push up on Bitcoin. And then we could look, for example, for more of a swing trade. Let's see what we have. Weekly, we already looked at that. Daily. So I would say if we want to take a long trade that would turn more into a swing, we would definitely have to look. I don't know if there's any opportunities here. I would say next best opportunity is gonna be either the point of control here, which still is not as good. Definitely don't want to be looking at this. It's either gonna be a reactionary base type of trade right here after, for example, the nice thing would be to get into the short trade right here, take it down to the point of control right here, and then we can look for that long trade. And then once again, we can be in a nice position where we can let this run for further downside. We get stopped out here, short keeps printing, and then we can look for two options, either an SFP of the lows right here onto this daily, reclaim of the daily, you have another long trade. And once again, if we fail here, you just let this trade run, and this can become really like a big runner, because at that point here there's no resistance, sorry, there's no support. Here there's a little bit of support, and then once again here barely any support, and if we make a new low, this can turn into like a 1 to 20 trade. So that's nice, definitely something we want to keep on our radar. So I would say this is what we have. Hopefully we can get into this short trade. I don't know why my alerts are not staying. So yeah, we can get the short trade here, trade it first here. If we fail there, look for another one here. If we fail there, just let the short trade run. Very simple. Let me get rid of this. Let me set this up and this. And then once again, you technically have a, no, sorry, the trade is going to be here, the SFP. Bitcoin is not convincing me. Do seem to have some strength here. Seems like it wants to reverse. I would love to see my watch list and see also what the stock market is doing instead of having to switch, but we don't always get what we want. So still $200. All right, let's move the back on to Clanker. And then it seems like you guys don't have any requests, so after we're looking at this, we will end it here. So Clanker. Oh wow, what the fuck? From 22, 146, completely dead from there. I really think these are just whales manipulating price. Oh yeah, we need to look at XAO, right? I don't really like this token, to be honest. I don't really see any opportunities. I can give you some targets if you wish, but actually no, not even. I can't give you targets here. It's just really horrible price action. I would say try to short this at one point if you can. Yeah, no, nothing to look at here, unfortunately. So I had a chart where I already had some analysis on gold. I just don't know which one it was. It's not this one. Is it this one? No, it's one which has my... Could be this one. Nope. So guys, just hang out real quick because I really want to find where I have my analysis on this. Definitely not here. Gold. Maybe this? No. If someone knows what the typical ticker is, it's probably the one where I have my analysis. Let me see if my phone has my watch list working. Ah, yes, my phone does, and my gold is XAO USD. Which pair? Oanda, right here. Oh, well, that was for nothing. I barely had any analysis on this. But anyways, let's see what we have here. 1 second, because I need to open the chat now. Nothing. Now my fucking live is not working. When stuff doesn't work with technology, it's just the most annoying thing. Let me get some here. Where's my live trade? Right here. Live trading. There we go. Okay. I am back on with the chat. You didn't really make it clear on Discord if you're interested in an answer or not. Can you message me back? Yeah, I'm gonna look at my private messages later. G1 or something. Oh, we found it. Bro, could you take a look at Dash and Neo? Yeah, let's look at it later. So, I mean, to be honest, gold is just making higher highs, higher highs, highs. I think I might have covered silver, but I also did mention gold in a previous live stream where I was basically saying just pretty much long anything that gets support. So for example, here we slightly front run this anchor VWAP, but this was the opportunity to go long. I mean, gold is just so fucking bullish. You can literally buy this and make profit probably in the next week. Except here, any day that you would have bought, the next week you would have been in profit. If you bought here, within a week you would have been in profit. If you bought here, this just keeps making higher highs. Unfortunately, it's really hard to find an entry here. But yeah, super bullish on gold. I would say 5,000 is the longer term target. I do have some physical gold. Let's see if I have it here. No, I have it in my room, which I want to sell actually. This is the time to start selling your gold, I would say, from the next 2 months. I mean, absolutely, you can this run to 6, 7, 8,000. Yes. Look at this chart. It's just literally the most bullish asset. This has outperformed literally every single asset, I think. It's actually crazy. But yeah, not much to look at. You just have to look for local trades here and try to get into that position. For example, if you get that pullback to 4.53, you can try to look for more of a local trade like this for new highs, for example. It's just going to be all trades like that. No swing trades. I mean, there are swing trades, but they're just so much lower that there's not even, I mean, look at this monthly chart. It's been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months in green, and then 2 in red, but I mean, barely red. I would say it's more of a range. And then once again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Just so many bullish months. It's crazy. So maybe another thing that you can do is wait for that range to start again. Try to look for long positions there and then wait for the next leg up. But yeah, just super, super bullish. Same thing for silver. Bybit giving you the tent and sleep bag is clearly assigned to go all in on Pippin. Yeah, it's actually insane. They just send me this huge box. Where is it? I don't know where it is. But they just send me so much shit. A pretty shitty hoodie as well. I'm going to show you actually. Bybit, you need to up your game with... Why does my fucking... Hold on. Let me show you. This is the most ugly hoodie that I've ever seen in my life. What the fuck is this? Who's gonna wear this strong orange? I mean, obviously this is on the inside, but I'm never gonna wear this. The back is kind of cool, but it just feels like it's just a marketing of their brand. Instead of doing something cool, they're literally just describe their exchange. Like, learn, trade, and earn. I'm not gonna wear this outside. They've actually made cool ones in the past. But like, why do you have to explain and use me as your fucking marketing guy walking around? Like, Bybit crypto exchange. I know you're a fucking crypto exchange. You don't need to like write it at the back of my hoodie or like on this sleeve, but learn, trade, and earn. They just kind of ruined it, to be honest. The past ones were so much better. How much volume you need on Bybit to get the cap? I have no idea. I have like 20 caps. I can send you one if you wish. but I have them in Italy, so you're gonna have to wait a little bit. I can do like a giveaway or something. I have like t-shirts of F1 signed by Verstappen from Bybit. I have so much shit, to be honest. Anyways, yeah, the tent was pretty cool, but I'm never gonna use it. Actually, in Madrid here in Spain, I live behind an arena where there are people that are literally camping out. So I will walk my dog at night, and I will see people. So this happened last night, which is actually super fucking weird, because I was walking with my best friend, and I walk in front of the arena, which is usually where I make my dog piss. Hopefully he pisses on the floor where these people sleep, because these people are literally sleeping on the fucking road, not even on the road, on the concrete outside the arena, with not even a tent. Like, these guys are literally just laying down on the floor, waiting a whole night, like 12 to 24 hours, just sitting on the floor in the cold. It's fucking 3 degrees outside, and they're just waiting for fucking someone to sing. Like, that's insane to me. Anyways, so I was saying, like, I would never do this. Like, and I was like, even if I had a tent or a sleeping bag, I would never camp out to like watch a fucking concert. What the fuck do I get today in my mailbox? A huge box from Bybit with a tent and a sleeping bag. Insane. Yeah, I will give the hoodie to a homeless. To be honest, that's good thinking, good morals. Anywho, enough with the rage quit. Let's get back to trading, and let's look at NEO. Oh, finally my watch list is working. Let's look at NEO right here. So NEO, always the same plan. I am waiting for my target, which is getting closer and closer. I've been so patient for this. I sold out at 6. I've been just not buying anything. We got that 40% drop. We just need a little bit more for my levels to be touched right here. But yeah, anyways, regarding, because now I'm seeing the chat, regarding all the stuff from Bybit, we can do a giveaway with like people who are in the Discord, the market makers, and whoever wins the giveaway can receive the hats. And I have some cool stuff, honestly, some cool gadgets. Whoever wants to camp out at a concert can have the tent. Anyways, yeah, NEO, I'm gonna wait for this 4.4 to 4.3, and here I'll start building up a spot position with the right reaction, and I'll try to take this back up. Then someone wanted to look at Dash. Let's take a look at Dash. Dash, like DoorDash, or Dash the crypto? Because we have two. I am guessing Dash the crypto. Since we usually do crypto, I'm gonna go with Dash the crypto. And considering that there's a fucking penis candle here, I'm guessing it's also Dash the crypto. So let's get rid of all this. So many anchor VWAPs. So let's see. I had some past analysis. I always like to check if my past analysis worked out. And it seems like that scalp short would have worked out pretty well. Right here. And nothing happened here. All right, let's see. New one. Why is this running so much? I don't understand why some cryptos just explode randomly. This is so old too. It's not like it's a new project. But I mean, has done this in the past and completely died. So let's try as usual to time the highs, or to look for that long trade on a drop that we can take for new highs. So finding the high of this could be doable. Not saying easy, but doable. So I do understand why we started running here. And that is because we got back into this value area high right here, value area low, which you can see was also back tested. Right there. Break, retest. Obviously there you expect it to move to the point of control, which is the target that we clearly reached. So that's the explanation behind this pump. Let's see what we have on the higher time frame. Monthly, that's gone. That was nice. Look at this monthly, how well it was respected in that big pump that we saw 3 months ago. Weekly, this weekly seems to be holding quite well. Weekly, daily, right here. So now we're starting to get some interesting levels. This anchor view up could be a good continuation level that we can keep in mind for a potential long. The only thing is just, I don't know if I want a long so late. This weekly also being tested once on the 4 hours, retested. 30 minute, we got that kind of change in market structure, but not really. I would consider this more of a range. So also another thing we can do, this daily is clearly holding. Another thing we can do is consider this local range and trade the range until it breaks, right? So next opportunity you get, you can either consider this low or you can consider this low here. And then we can try to catch some shorts at the top, which then if the range breaks, we can take lower. And some longs at the bottom. And same thing, if this breaks to the upside, we can take this higher. We have this anchor VWAP, which kind of lines up with that. So this is something more local. Regarding timing the high, I would say it's around here, because it's either at this weekly or we move up to 94. And then if we flip 94, I would say on probably a new all-time high, unless we have another pit stop 112. All right, this is pretty clear to me. So I'll reassume it quite quickly. Sorry, not reassume. I will summarize it quickly. So clearly, first attempt would have been too short here, but there was no bad reaction at all. There was actually a front run of the daily, which would have suggested that move up. Clearly, the weekly is holding well. However, we are in a range. So I would say that if you wanted to short it, you would have been in a short from the retest right here. So this would have been an acceptable short trade to try and look for that full reversal. But now it's too late. So since we saw this late, what we need to do is, once again, wait for one of these two options to take a trade, or consider this low, whichever, we'll see the reaction. If we get into this long, we can look to trade this first to 94. Well, obviously first to the top of the range, then to 94. And then if we flip 94, we can look to trade this all the way up to 112. 112 can be that place where we can look for that high to be put in for, once again, that full reversal. Or we can try to time the full reversal off of this high, and then if you get that nice reaction and the range breaks here, so these lows don't hold, then perhaps this can be the full reversal. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Pretty simple. And then we had another one, Is there a stock you would buy spot though? Because once you know the levels, it's easier just to trade it, I guess. It's not always easier to trade stocks because they can be very slow. For example, I had a trade on Microsoft right here, which I closed, by the way, right here. Because, I mean, this was so terrible. I finally had reached my point of interest right here. And this just took so long that I closed it. And we did have that nice drop now. I'm going to have to look at 415 next. Here I'll buy some, closing this gap here. Something like that onto the anchor view up. Maybe even touching the monthly. I feel like 370 is a bit too low for Microsoft. But if we get that touch below 400, I will 100% be buying this. And again, I was speaking about this. It's not that far. It's a 15%. By the way, Bitcoin just being so slow right now. Really just doing nothing. Just either drop or pump, to be honest. Once again, that was the retest I was talking about. If you missed this long trade and you really want to be in it, but again, you got the first tick, so this would be the first check that you get that retest. I would say, to be more safe, wait for this value area low to be reclaimed, and then you can have that trade I was talking about, which, by the way, I haven't taken. As you can see, I'm just in the short trade and I want to see lower. So let's see, Dash we saw, crypto, yeah, we saw that. XA we saw. I think we saw all of them. So let's finish with Pengu and BCH. I think Pengu I'm not gonna like, I already know. I had quite a lot of Pengu in spot, and thankfully I sold it like a year ago or something, 6 months ago, I don't remember. Because I think this shit died so hard. Yeah, indeed. Look at that. All right, the good thing is that all these cryptos are starting to give some sign of life. So instead of just dropping, we are starting to get the first shifts. Thing is, here on Pengu, we got that SFP, which is not looking great, of these highs. See how it looks on the 30 minutes. 30 minutes. Yeah. Oh, is that equal highs? Why did it look so good on the daily and completely changed on the 30 minutes? This is just kind of weird. Very weird price action. The lows here are fine, I think. Just I don't really like how close we got to them here, so we could see that further drop. I've never seen price action like this, to be honest, with equal highs. That's crazy. Which makes me think we could have that move up. But I don't know, kind of a complicated chart. Let's see. Monthly, weekly, daily. Fortunately, this is a pretty bad chart. And I would say there's not many opportunities that you can get, other than, once again, the usual range being formed. Maybe you can look for long here. No, I really don't like it. I would say you would have to approach it with a range. Typical range setup, where you get a range high, you get the range low. There's basically equal highs and equal lows right here, and wait for either of a move here to take it to the other side, or move up and then take it to the other side until the range breaks. I would say that's pretty much it. I would trade this more locally. Short trade is risky. You could be looking for like some timing of the highs. but it's risky because we just started changing market structure. So I'm not as interested as I would have been down here. So yeah, I would stick to it locally. So let's look at the last one, BCH. So BCH, I had actually given this long trade, which I never took, which would have had a nice reaction at first, right here, which would have still given a 1, 2, 2, but I never took this. So let's clean this up. I remember seeing this chart. This chart was also terrible. Yeah, I remember seeing this. Yeah, I'm not gonna trade this. This is terrible as well. As I always say, like, if your chart looks like a QR code, not a QR code, like a barcode, basically like this, like when you go to the store and buy something, you don't really want to be trading this. And I mean, look at this. Not even the ranges are being respected. This is just terrible. I mean, range high here would have given you a nice short, but then all this range low wouldn't have worked. Here you would have gotten some long trades. I would say just try to trade the range once again. It's probably the easiest thing right here, but they're just so not clear. Like here you have an upside, here you have a range, here you just have a channel up. I don't know, it's just such a weird price action. And by the way, look at that drop now on Bitcoin to take the lows. So my decision to stay out was correct, and I feel like now I have to stay just to see if we get to the low, but I don't really have time. Anyways, I will update you guys in the Discord. Whoever took this short is probably gonna, this long is probably gonna get stopped out soon, but who knows. When you enter a trade after a market structure shift and it starts ranging, do you reduce size and move stop loss to give it more space in case it goes for the SFP again? So typically, whenever I take a trade, I always give myself some space. So I never really change my stop loss. I always give myself some space so that I don't need to change the stop loss. So if I, for example, took this SFP, I would have put the stop loss a bit lower and already take that into my consideration. The range is not really an issue. I mean, of course, if you mean like, let's say I get my entry, right? So we hit my level. Let's say this is my level. We hit it and we start doing this, then yes, because then my entry trigger could be this. In that case, yes, I would say, I mean, typically, I would perhaps, if we have the right reaction after a market structure shift, according to my statistics, you typically don't go back and visit this low. So there's no need most of the times to give yourself some space, only after the market structure shift. But if there's no market structure shift, so let's say that we reach like this, where this is the high that we need to break for that market structure shift, and we start ranging here, then yeah, I would even say that perhaps I'm not even in a position yet and I'm waiting for example, this trigger. And even on this trigger, I would probably not enter until we get, for example, that move down and like that. Then at that point I would enter, because that's the market structure shift, and then I would have my stop loss here. In general, I always like to give myself some space. And to help you with that, you can use, I don't remember the name now, ATR. So you look at the average true range, which is going to be at the bottom of your chart. This will tell you, where the fuck is it? They put it here. I don't like to use this one here. I rather use one which is at the bottom. But anyways, what the hell is going on? What happened to my candles? So as I was saying, with the ATR, you can kind of see the volatility, and based on the volatility, you can adjust yourself. So yeah. And by the way, yeah, this was taken once again. Was it? Yeah, ever so slightly was taken. This is not a long trade, by the way. So yeah, that's it. That's pretty much it. Use the ATR to see how much space you should give yourself below the low, and use that. So if the ATR says that you typically don't see more than $200 move, that's your entry. Give yourself another like extra $200 to the bottom. I'm just giving an example. I don't know if it's 200, whatever the value is. And hopefully here we don't do another SFP of the SFP where we reverse here. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh wow, what a pump. That's pretty much it. I want to still wait for this level. If we get this, I will update you in the Discord. If you are a market maker, that is. And I will see you in the next live. Probably tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow is Friday. All right. See you.